This a Valentine to my friend Brian because he will never watch this. If he watched, he'd be like, I don't sound like that. No. It's really funny. So Zach Bolton, Z. Charles Bolton, as we call him in the industry, he was the director for that show. He started out as an engineer, and actually was an engineer on the very first show I got to perform in for Funimation. Very first show ever of my career as a professional actor was Samurai 7. I played Rikashi. So Charles, Zach, as we sometimes call him, was Bevins' engineer. Chris Bevins was my dear friend who discovered me and who was directing that show. He was his engineer, and then later went on to become a director because he kind of rose through the ranks. So he was there, at the beginning. And after doing Shin-Chan for several years, that was the bad pun band. It was several walk-on parts. Walk-on parts, an animated show. Wait, what I mean, yes. And there was one, it was the Will Compton. Do you remember that one? That episode of Shin-Chan? The Will Compton, the really awful, sucky cookie, like that one. Really, really, really off color references to things. Women's anatomy issues. And I'm thinking, I am saying some of the worst lines, funny, but the most offensive lines of my career. And so I turned to Zach at one point. I'm like, Zach, I want to thank you for being there at the beginning of my career and here at the end of it. That, of course, was before Italia. I'm like, oh, offensive. I got this. So, yes, Bad Pun Bandit changed my life. Thank you for reminding me, taking me down that road. You have such lovely blue hair.
Thanks.
You know how to take a compliment. I admire that. What you got, love?
Considering that you're the adapted screenwriter on Attack on Titan, what's the scariest Titan in your opinion? The Smiling Titan? Which one, is nightmare worthy?
The one, God, I think the one that eats his mother scares me, because that's the one where when you see Hanny's come down, it's like, I'm gonna save you! Screw this, no I'm not. Because the thing was just kind of standing there like this. That was your first real look at a Titan, in just, not your first look, but your first one that you had time to actually take it in. And then the horrible thing goes on to kill his mom. Sorry, spoilers. For those of you that haven't watched the first episode of Titan, where have you been? On Mars, in a cave, with your eyes closed and your fingers in your ears. I think that Titan struck me the most. After that, all the other Titans were equally frightening. But that first real long, loving shot on a Titan.
The Armored Titan?
Armored Titan's pretty cool, too.
The Smiling Titan.
Yeah. They're all... You know what, if I met any of them, I'd be like, we're not gonna be friends. This won't work. You're gonna eat me, and then you're gonna throw me up. Which is just an insult to injury. You don't even need to eat me. It's like feeding a beagle.
Aww.
You just eat. You didn't need any of that, Barney. No. Hey, what's your favorite? What's your most frightening? I'm taking the smiling one, because you keep coming back to the smiling one.
No, I think Ymir's Titan form is really creepy. The big nose.
That's what does it for you, big noses. I will take that as a compliment. Thank you, love. Thank you.
All right. Welcome back to Sac-Anime, J. Michael Tatum. It's great to have you here again.
It's great to be back. Thank you.
All right. I've been really thoroughly enjoying your latest role as Dr. Gel in Space Dandy.
Thank you.
Thoroughly enjoying it. And although I'm not a big fan of Black Butler at all, to say.
You just made a lot of enemies. I can't protect you. He's a guy.
I live dangerously. I don't give a crap. Anyway, but I am impressed with how strong you have, how big of a grasp you have of, the British accent, and how well you're able to summon that for, any kind of roles, especially when, as last year when you came up, it was very funny to see you break out into the British accent. And I wanted to ask you, how were you able to build that up? Because, my top 3 North Americans who, in my own opinion, who have a very good British accent are Jennifer Hale, Robert Downey Jr., then of course, you. in my own opinion.
In that order?
No, this is pretty much in a dead heat because I jump off between the three. Oh, that's good. Oh, but they do this a little bit more. Jay.
Oh dear, oh my, oh dear.
Yeah, especially that buttoned-up attitude.
And that's what I'm particularly good at, is the buttoned-up sort of received pronunciation British. You have to understand, in Great Britain, you can't go 5 feet without running into another dialect. So everyone will be like, oh, you sound like you're from there. Well, I sound like I'm from here. And I just got back from Sunderland, where they all sound very, very different than people from London. Like, they'd be like, hello, it's so nice to see you. Thanks for being here. Really appreciate you coming. Whereas someone will be like, oh my God, thank you so much for being here. Oh my God, awesome, thank you, so great. Like, they're much more expansive, and they have a much more like, blah, 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 in your face. And then there's Cockney, which is like, hello, Mary Poppins, whatever. But I mean, I'm good at the received pronunciation, the very posh British, because getting back to, for a moment, my childhood as a stutterer. And I had a horrible, horrible speech impediment when I was really young. I didn't really talk until I was 9 years old.
Oh my.
Because of it, I used to carry around like a little thing to write on. So people would be like, look, I want cookies, whatever. I know, it's like, oh, it's kind of pathetic when you picture me as a little kid walking around with my bowl-cut blonde hair, my snaggle teeth and my freckles with it. Cookies? Aww. Inside is just roiling away with the Shakespeare sonnets, but all I can do is have time for what I've got to write. But no, so I had a speech therapist for a number of years who was British, and she was this hilarious, like 4-foot little woman, like 100 years old. She looked like she had been hewn from marble, and she had like this huge iron, like gray bun of hair on top of her head that accounted for a full foot of her height.
Dang.
With the cat-eye glasses, and she was kind of stooped, and she was like, hello, the rain in Spain falls mainly in the plains. And her name, I shit you not, was Mrs. Britt.
Oh, that's cool. Did she fly around in a
TARDIS, yes.
Yeah,
in a TARDIS.
I was gonna say umbrella, but okay.
right. So she was my speech therapist for a number of years, and though I'm from Texas, and everyone in my family has a fairly pronounced Texas accent, and I can fall into it a little bit when I'm around my family, the fact of the matter is, I kind of learned to speak from a British lady, so the British accent is never very far from me. And that's why. So, in fact, every time I get the chance to actually revel in my Brit accent, it's kind of an implicit love letter to the woman who taught me how to speak, who is now long dead or moved on to another regeneration. Yes. May she rest in peace. But yeah.
All right. Well, my own nephew has a little bit of a speech impediment, but I keep on telling him, don't worry, you'll grow up to become J. Michael Tatum.
Aww.
You may want to think twice about that.
At least he'll be popular at parties. It's great to have you back, Jay.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. You rock. Hello, sir.
Hey, question for you to answer as Kyoya.
Question for me to answer is Kyoya.
Yes.
I think I can do this.
Yes. What would you think if you got the opportunity to go to an anime convention?
I love that you're here and you're like, oh my God, poor Kyoya. Like, you're here. And Kyoya, maybe people think Kyoya's not crazy, but I put it to you, madam, that he's desperately insane. He's just better than the rest of them at keeping it under wraps. Tamaki's his best friend. He can't be completely sane. But no, I get you. If Kyoya were to come to an anime convention, right? He would probably spend a lot of time in Artist Alley telling people like, this is really weird, this is very well done, but I think maybe this is really an example of the Ming Dynasty era, I can then picture him entering the cosplay contest in that wonderful Spanish villa drag he wore very, very briefly in that episode. I picture it being kind of like his reluctant day off when he just finds himself dragged out of bed to a convention and he wakes up without a wallet or a cell phone because everyone's left him. Tommy and a gang have left him, let's say, sleeping in the lobby of the hotel while they go, check out the J-pop band. And Kyoya would wake up and be like, where the hell? Why is everyone dressed like me? This is weird. Wow. Huh. Oh, J. Michael Tatum has a panel. Let's go kick his ass. that would be me. That would be me as Kyoya going to a con.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, yeah. Thanks. You have such lovely handwriting. It's like these stones. Hello, darling. You are adorable.
Thank you.
You're like, screw this mic, I'm just taking it off the stand.
Okay, so I just want to say I really love your work.
Thank you, darling. You're very kind.
And so I know you play like really serious characters like Sebastian, but you also play really flamboyant and playful characters like Franks. So I wanted to ask you, what type of character do you enjoy playing most?
You know, I can't really pick between the two because they both have their own challenges. As an actor, I love a challenge, you know, but I also love something that I'm good at that I know I can do in my sleep and that they'll pay me for. That's also nice. It's interesting, I've thought about this before, but when you're playing a really crazy, over-the-top, very, no pun intended, animated character, generally because, you know, we're working in dubs, we're working with existing animation, and so often the character, the way they're drawn, the way they move, the energy of the scene because of the music or the angle of the shot or whatever, kind of suggests the read to you because there's such energy in the animation that you feel like, oh, well, there is no way. The character's jumping up and down and the line is hooray. You're like, hooray. So, you know, you have this idea like, oh, it's definitely gonna be like, hooray! Because that's what it looks like. He looks like that, right? And that's challenging because it's quite an exercise in the vocal cords to maintain that level of energy for a several-hour session. But also, when you're playing characters that are more inward, that are more serious, that is to say, serious in the sense that you don't ever quite know what they're thinking because they just play very close to the vest. There's more to choose, there's more ways to choose how they say even the simplest of lines because they could really mean any number of things underneath the kind word or the nod or whatever. So, and I find the more choices you have, at least for me, the more choices I have as an actor, the likelier I am to make the wrong choice. So the challenge is trying to just like, wow, this character speaks so little, how can you really impart the subtext, the emotional subtext of the line when all he says is what? And that's happened, like Domaki is a great example in Halleck, which is one of my favorite characters. He says almost nothing every episode. If he does, it's like, it's a line here, a line there, but there's so much behind what he says. And you're limited, like you have all this subtext to play with, and you're like, God, how do I get all of this? How do I squeeze all of this meaning into this tiny little word, what? And it's so fun, but it's a challenge, and as an actor, I really embrace the challenge, so yeah, I like both. I don't think I could choose one over the other, but thank you. Good
Thank
question.
you.
And you are adorable, by the way. Made more adorable by the fact that you're holding Usa-chan in your hand.
I was wondering if you liked cliffhangers at the end of episodes or like the end of seasons, if you think they're cool or you just think they're really annoying.
Oh, I grew up watching old Doctor Who, so everything was a cliffhanger. For me, if I don't get a cliffhanger, I'm like, well, you made that far too easy on me. Do we have any fans of Steins Gate here? Oh my God, okay, let me talk just to give you an idea of my own relationship to the idea of a cliffhanger versus most people's experience with cliffhangers. There is, halfway through the show, about exactly the halfway point, at the episode 12, ends with such a wretchedly clever cliffhanger that everyone who watches it hates you instantly. Because they're like, wow, and I had my boyfriend at the time was a big Doctor Who fan too, so he was used to cliffhangers. He'd grown up with cliffhangers. Oh, wait till next week, son of a bitch! That was every Saturday, right? But now, here we are watching this show that I have written and played the lead in, and I'm telling him, like, we only have the first 12 episodes. The other 12, I will not have access to the finished product for another 3 months. So once we get to this episode 12, and it ends on a cliffhanger, you are going to be so angry, you're going to be so emotionally fraught, you're going to be so frayed and pissed But you won't want to speak to me. Are you sure you want to get this far? You just want to watch the whole thing together when the whole thing is available in December. He's like, no, let's watch it. Come on. I know from Cliffhangers. I'm a Doctor Who fan. Come on. He sounds just like that, too. I'm kidding. So we watch it, and here's this cliffhanger, which I'm not going to give away because obviously that's half the fun. But this grown man turns to me, tears in his eyes, and goes, fuck you. Walks out of the room, comes back, no, seriously, fuck you. Why would you do that to me? I warned him. Steins Gate, all of you, for those of you who have not seen Steins Gate or have heard of it or whatever, it's an awesome show, one of my all-time favorites. I got to write the adaptive scripts along with Patrick Seitz, and I was the lead. And I will never, ever do that to myself again. Thank you, darling. I appreciate that. I love cliffhangers if they're done well. When they're just like there, and I'm also very, very, very hard on cliffhangers. Like when the next episode starts, and I'm like, no, I was watching. That did not happen. I feel like Kathy Bates in Misery. He didn't get out of the cocky duty car. Oh, I'm old. No one got that reference. Anyway, oh, you did. Yay. So, thank you, darling. Good question.
Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Tatum.
Hi, it's you.
I did my homework. I'll stop this.
Did you read chapters 1 through 9 of Silas Marner?
Yes.
No, you didn't.
Okay, I read half through chapter 9.
We'll just watch the movie. It's okay.
Okay, I kept forgetting to mention this at your panel today. Not your panel, but your Q&A. Oh my god, I'm so tired!
You are a time traveler because you don't know where you are right now. You're remembering the future.
I wanted to say I loved you as Solomon in Trinity Blood, by the way. I forgot to mention that.
Ah, yes, Philemon, who's the character that gets a hole blown through him and proceeds to talk for another 20 minutes. That would be me in real life. I'm dying with a giant hole in my torso. I'm dying still. Like that would be me in real life. I will be talking about precisely 9 hours after I'm officially dead. Like, his corpse won't shut up. His corpse!
Okay, I have a Doctor Who question for you, actually.
Oh, you don't scare me. Bring it.
Okay, who is your favorite Doctor and why, and what was your favorite season and why?
What is with the favorites game? Everyone's like, what's your favorite food? What's your favorite... I don't know. I love everything. It's hard to pick favorites because I feel like the pressure is on to be like, I love this. Everything else can go to hell but this. This right here is mine. Don't take this away from me. But you... No, screw that. This. It's so artificial, I think. So I find it really hard. And I'm not like totally ripping on your question because I mean, of course, everyone's like, what's your favorite? It's just kind of built into our language, isn't it? What's your favorite this? What's your most experience? What's blah, 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 what's whatever. Doctor Who is so much a part of me that my favorite Doctor is all of them because it's all one character. I don't know if you've been watching the show. Okay, but it's all the same dude. He's just got a lot of personality. It's like Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass. Do I contradict myself? Fine, I contradict myself. I contain multitudes. That was a very highfalutin reference for those of you who didn't get it. That's okay. Oh, one person got it, and he's lying. But if I had it now, as far as
The season.
being my favorite Doctor in terms of the one I went back to watch later of the old series, I love Patrick Troughton as the second Doctor because he was the first actor to be charged with the task of persuading an audience who'd grown up watching William Hartnell, Billy, the first Doctor, that the Doctor could be played by a different actor in a different way, with a different take, a different outfit, a different persona, and still be the Doctor. And if he hadn't succeeded as beautifully as he did, because there was so much pressure on him. Nowadays, a Doctor always has pressure on him to perform when he's in his first episode, because everyone's like, yeah, are you gonna be as good as Matt Smith? Are you gonna be as good as David Tennant? Are you gonna be as good as that 9? Are you gonna be as good as 7? Everyone's like, yeah. But you have to imagine, okay, before this was even a concept in anything, the idea of another actor taking up the mantle of a role that completely and utterly, as far as its fan base was concerned, belonged to this guy, Billy Hartnell. Patrick Troughton came in and was like, I'm going to do it my own way. And he had the balls to do it. And so they came up with this idea, well, like, we can do it. He's an alien, so we'll have kind of a different personality, but be basically the same core creature at bottom, whatever that means. And so he convinced audiences who hated him at first because he was such a departure from William Hartnell's portrayal. William Hartnell was kind of frosty and patrician and like angry grandfather. Whereas Pat comes in, and Pat's this wonderfully daft, clownish, cosmic hobo whose clothes don't fit and who's always being like, oh dear, I have no idea what's going on. Oh, run away! And everyone's like, he's like the crazy uncle that would show up to your birthday party and give you like a wildly inappropriate gift. So people were like, this is not the Doctor I know, but they so fell in love with him over the course of the 3 seasons that he had the part, that he made the idea of regeneration, the idea that other actors could come in and take up the mantle of this role, viable. And so if Pat Troughton, may he rest in peace, had not done such a wonderful job bringing a new Doctor to life for the first time, we wouldn't be talking about Doctor Who now, 50 years later.
Right.
And I'd like to add, it's tragic, but actually kind of sweet at the same time. He was so in love with the fandom of Doctor Who that well until the end of his life, he was going to cons dressed as the Doctor. It was one of his favorite things to do. He actually passed away at a convention.
Aww.
True. In the late 80s, I believe, he was at a convention. And, he was an old guy by then. And he passed away in his sleep, and they were like, oh, but he was like there at a convention to do Doctor Who stuff, because he loved it, and he loved the fans. And so what a way to go, right? I want to die at a convention, not this one.
No!
Not today. I actually got a meeting guy. I told that story about like being involved, or loving Pat Troughton as like my favorite old Doctor. And then told the story about him dying at a convention, and then this was a couple of years ago, and a guy comes through my line who's a bit older, and he says, you know what, I was at that convention, I was in his last autograph line, and I'm like, I don't know why I'm signing this for you, are you gonna kill me? Because he was so ominous, I was in Pat Troughton's final line. It was you, it's the master, run! So Pat Troughton will always have a special place in my heart, as I think he should with all Doctor Who fans, because he made Doctor Who, he gave Doctor Who such a wonderful, he gave it longevity. He proved that it could be done, and he was brilliant.
And your favorite season?
My favorite season?
Yes. Mine was obviously with the Pawns, so.
That's good stuff. It's hard to pick favorites. I have favorites for all of them. I really loved the last season of Tom Baker's run. Because his take on the role had changed so dramatically then, and he had this beautiful plum outfit. I love Matt Smith's the astronaut, whatever what was the name of that arc? The Impossible Astronaut. Thank you. That was a great arc. I love the Bad Wolf arc.
Oh, that was really good.
That's a defining arc. I mean, the rest of the series try to sort of stand in the shadow of that beautiful construct. And the old stuff. I love Pat Troughton's very last run as the Doctor in a 12-episode arc called The War Games. And he's like, that was his last thing. And that was actually the first time, this is like 67, 68, it was the very first time that we see Gallifrey and we see other Time Lords because the Doctor is put on trial. And he has to like defend himself on trial. It's like, why does he go around mucking about in the timeline? Because I'm this, da 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 da. And it's the very first great little monologue he gives in defense of himself on trial by the Time Lords. And that's another great like Patrick Troughton moment. Because that's the thing, his third regeneration, or his second regeneration into the Third Doctor was not something that happened because he died. He was actually forced to regenerate because he was exiled to Earth because the Time Lords were not happy with him. So they're like, no, you're regenerating and we're gonna exile you to Earth. So, yeah, I'm a nerd. Such a nerd.
That's a good thing, nerds are sexy.
Thank you, darling. Thank you, darling. You are sexy as well. Work them heels, love, work them heels. Your feet are burning? You're doing it wrong. Just a note, I have about 10 minutes left, so I will try to keep my answers to a bare minimum so we can get to the rest of you that have been waiting. If I don't, please, I do apologize. I do have other Q&As, so please come to all of them if you didn't get a chance to ask your question. Go, my love, how are you?
Hello. I was just wondering, out of all the anime characters you've done, and then anime characters in general, which do you think best fits your own personality?
Isaac Dean from Baccano. Or Okabe from Steins Gate. Or Kyoya from. Like, you have to understand, they all sort of come from my personality. They all come from some place within me. So I find that's kind of always been the appeal of acting for me, is that you find, like, the appeal is that I get to kind of get out of my own skin for a while and be someone else, only to find out that it was me all along. So it's really kind of fun to learn that, oh, somewhere inside of me there is that guy, there is that character that I didn't think had any relationship to me whatsoever, but there it is, you know. So they're all a piece of me at some point, but I think they're all a little like me in some way. So,
Alright, cool.
yeah. Thanks, darling. Next.
Sorry.
Hey, I'm up here. You're complicated. You're so.
I know.
You're keeping it together. What's happening? What's happening, darling? They always bring cameras. Proof.
Okay, so when and where is your autograph session going to be? Because I came a little late, so I'm not really sure. And if you are going to do an autograph session, and can you talk in the Sebastian voice?
Yes, I can talk in the Sebastian voice because that's what I do. My autograph session is over for today. There is another one tomorrow, and there's another one Sunday. There's one every day. I'm autograph signing a lot. I think there might be even 2 on Saturday. You'll have to check the program guide because I'm not entirely sure off the top of my head. So sorry, darling, can't help you there, but I'll look out for you.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome, darling.
Hello.
Hello. You got a sonic screwdriver, very nice. I have 12.
My question is kind of dependent upon whether you saw the Series 8 premiere of Doctor Who.
I did.
Okay.
And I loved it.
Alright, so what did you think of Peter Capaldi's performance as the 8th Doctor?
I think it's the 8th Doctor. You mean the 12th?
You mean
the 12th? Get out of here! Get out of here!
I mean the 12th.
No, I love it. I think it's great. It's good to see an old Doctor again because it reminds me of the old days where the Doctor was like the youngest guy to play the Doctor for a long time was the fifth Doctor, Peter Davison, who was like still like in his late 30s at the time or something like that. So I'm kind of used to old Doctors. I like it because it gives him kind of a crusty old wizard feel. Like I want my doctors to be a little like Merlin, if that's a trope that anyone kind of resonates with. I like Peter Capaldi because I think he's how I could see why he's playing it the way he's playing it, and I think it's a brilliant choice, and I think it's challenging to the audience, which it should be, and I'm really looking forward to the places he will go with it because I think he's a phenomenal actor.
A lot of people complained that he was too old and Matt Smith was young.
And a lot of people are dumb shits too. What are you gonna do? It's younger, like, yeah, it's awesome. It's not, you know, the guy's gonna, like, if they're getting younger than Matt Smith, like a toddler's going to be playing it. And it's gonna be like Home Alone in the goddamn TARDIS. I don't wanna see that. Like, you know, people are like, oh, he's not sexy. Old people can be sexy, damn it. Thank you. Someone's like, woo! God love you for thinking older men are sexy. So, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right. Next.
It just occurred to me. Do you remember last time you were here? You were talking about.
It's all a blur. I'll go on. Okay. Wait, 15 minutes or 5?
Anyways, to make this quick before my question.
Sure, sorry, love.
You were talking about your favorite Disney movies, and one of them was Mrs. Potts. And just so you know, we have an inside joke that goes over and over again. We're talking about J. Michael Tatum when we say, "Tale as old as time."
Tale as old as time. What? Am I old as time? What? What?
No, you're Mrs. Potts.
Oh, Mrs. Potts.
Yes, you want to be her when you grow up.
I do. I would love to be Mrs. Potts.
Okay, so my question is, I was really confused in the outtakes of Host Club. Whenever, you know how they do the sign off at the end? And you say, we'll see you then?
Yes.
So before then you say, I hate your face, we're out of money, and then you scream, we'll see you then.
Yes.
Oh, why?
I don't know.
It was beautiful.
It just felt it. I think we were goofy because it was the end of an 8-hour recording day and I had to do it, and so I kept messing it up on purpose to get Caitlin to laugh because we were all like, ha ha ha, 8-hour day, ha ha ha. So I'm like, we're out of money. I hate your face. What the thing is that?
Just like that.
And she died. She melted into a little puddle of death laughing.